we just need to take a moment to look at how adorable my little pets here are being. Hello, lovely people of the internet, and welcome to the NovelTea Knitting Podcast. I am your host, Emma, here to talk to you about all things knitting, crafty, basically anything cozy that takes my fancy. To new viewers, welcome, and to returning viewers, thank you so much for joining me again. This week's podcast is going to include, as always, some knitting and a little bit of cross-stitch. I unfortunately have no finished objects this week, even though I have been working very hard. I just have not managed to finish anything. So we're going to have quite a long whip segment, a little bit of cross-stitch, but I think it's going to be a short episode for this week. Now, as for the tea that I'm drinking today, I am drinking some more of this IKEA tea, which is rooibos tea with rose hips. And I've had this one before, and I love it. Hi, sweetie. You want to lay down? Lay down right next to Mama. Yeah. I'm absolutely obsessed with this tea, but I was kind of hoarding it because I wasn't super sure when I was going to be able to get to IKEA again. But I ended up going to IKEA very recently and I got another box. So now I feel like I can drink this at my leisure rather than having to save it because I'm worried that I'm going to run out. So grab your cup of tea and let's get started. I have had no progress with my patchwork pullover, so I don't really know why I'm showing this to you guys, other than to express my certainty, I suppose. One of these days, I'm going to whip this out. Hey. Yeah, that's a knitting joke. One of these days, I'm going to whip this thing out, and I'm going to have tons of progress. But today is not that day. So, back into the bag it goes for now. What I have had considerable progress on is my Schnee cardigan. This is so annoying because I always have this on top of my knitting and stuff, and it's so flanky because of course it's all my stitch markers and row counters but this sweater I have finished the front and back panels and all of the short row shaping and the increasing that you do to make this like a V neck. I have done precisely one row of the whole sweater all together, placed my little stitch markers here around the edges of the sleeves or the underarms. I do have a little bit of underarm shaping to do. This pattern has some decreases at the underarms. I'm not entirely certain what purpose they serve, but I do know that I do like the look of them. Once I do those underarm decreases and then maybe another row or two just for like a little bit of extra stability, I am actually going to break the yarn and cast on my sleeves. Not because that's what the pattern says to do, but because I want to make sure that I have enough yarn to do the sleeves exactly how I like them, which is extra puffy and extra long. The sleeves in this case are more important to me than the body length of the sweater. Well, the sleeves in every case are more important to me than the body length of the sweater. Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I can start kind of trying it on. I really like where this hits me and I'm really liking this fabric. I know that the fabric will block out a little bit looser, which I am happy about. I am so glad that I decided to put this project in timeout rather than frogging it completely because I have been really enjoying this knit again. The pattern instructions are really clear. I'm really enjoying working with the yarn, which I don't think I have mentioned in a while is Bumblebee Acres in their A Ride Through the Highlands colorway. But I am very pleased with that and hopefully there will be some more progress very soon. So that self-striping sock that I had started last week that I hadn't yet finished the cuff on because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a self-striping sock. Well, I guess it's always going to be a self-striping sock, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be patterned or vanilla. There we go. But I made a decision and I decided that it was just going to be a straight vanilla sock. I think I decided what yarn I'm going to use for my raindrop socks or my falling rain socks, and it's not this. So I did go ahead and start working it. Some of you might notice that I did not do a thing that I have been doing on my last couple pairs of self-striping socks where I left like a band of this contrast contrasting heel color. I mentioned when I did that the first time that I wasn't positive that I was gonna like it forever, and the end of that came much more quickly than I expected. I did precisely 2 socks where I did a band across the top with the heel color. Honestly, I was mostly just being lazy, but also I was a little bit worried about the length of the stripes in the self-draping socks. Because the gusset is so many more stitches than just the leg or the foot, I was a little bit worried that the stripes would be stunted or too short and it would be really obvious. But in retrospect, it was considerably more obvious that I had a big stripe across the foot of the sock, which was weird. I can just show you what I mean if it's not obvious what I mean. This is what I was doing. I had this black band here that's just the color of the heel that I had done. And I don't think I'm going to do that again. I think it looks really good on these socks in particular, and I don't really know why. But I did them on my beautiful socks, which was another Witchy colorway from Knit Picks, and I just didn't think that it looked quite as good. Now, I have to talk about this really quickly. I decided that I would try doing the center pull thing. I know that is quite a popular way to pull your yarn. I know that it makes a lot of sense because your ball doesn't go like flying off into the ether. My reservation about it was always that I have trouble with yarn barf. I thought, you know what? Maybe I was just unlucky a couple of times. Let's give this a shot again. And I tell you what, I am officially never doing center pull ever again. This is at least the 4th time, maybe the 5th time that I have pulled it out and just had to pull out an entire glob of yarn. For some reason, I don't know if I'm just unlucky or if other people are better at dealing with it or what the deal is, but I don't deal with this. I don't like this. Throw it away. Don't actually throw it away. This is a nice yarn. The sock is going well. I'm almost done with it. I'm on the foot. I will probably have this done by the next episode and maybe the second sock as well. I can't believe sometimes how easy it is once I really sit down and get going. My problem with making progress in knitting is always just that I don't sit down and make time for it, because if I sit down and really concentrate on my knitting, it goes so quickly. I did the entire leg basically in a single night, but I'm usually very distractible. I do knitting like in between chores and things like that, but in the last couple of weeks I have just gone for it with some of my knitting projects, and I've really enjoyed being able to see the progress that I can make in one sitting. That shouldn't discourage you if you only have time to do a few rows here and there. I definitely see progress by doing that as well, but there's nothing quite like the rush of seeing about 6 inches come together all at once. Oh, and you'll notice that I have here as my stitch marker one of my earrings. I've gotten a lot of comments about these earrings actually, and like the ones that I'm wearing today as well, and I do make these myself. I had one pair that I bought years and years ago at one of the fiber festivals or something, and I bought it because I thought to myself, now this is something that technically I could do, but will I do it? And the answer turned out to be yes. So I have one pair that I did not make, and they are my solid gray ones, but any other of these that you see I've made myself, and I make them for my friends and stuff as well. I was selling them for a little while on Etsy. My shop right now is on vacation. I decided to do a shop overhaul, closed it down, and just have not really gotten to the part where I actually restock the shop, partially because I would like to make some more of these, and also because I'm planning on making some little tiny pom-pom earrings as well. I love pom-pom earrings. I think they are so cute, but they always seem too big. Like whenever I see pom-pom earrings, they're like, they have pom-poms that are way too big. I want something that's like the size of a quarter or smaller. So I will be making those hopefully soon, but I make absolutely no promises. But anyway, I did end up using one of the earrings that I was wearing as a progress keeper because I hate having to recount rows over and over again. And I do have an exact amount of rows that I like to use for legs and my feet because I just know now. When I'm using a US 1 needle and Witchy, I know exactly how many rows to do for the legs and the feet, obviously. Moving right along to my Banff cardigan. I am making very steady progress on this beauty. I'm actually in the middle of a row, which honestly happens very commonly. This pattern is just so easy and so simple that I pick it up and put it down constantly. This is basically what I I take if we're going on a car ride. I actually took it to a Tigers game. My husband and I are both fully vaccinated and we wear masks when we're out and about and everything. So we went to a Tigers game. Comerica Stadium, where the Tigers play, does have a specific policy that allows knitting, but I was really nervous to bring a sock, which would normally be my small project of choice, just because those needles are so small and they can look really sharp, even if the ones that I use in particular are not very sharp at all. I don't use, the Haya sharps or anything like that. I don't even know if they make double-pointed Haya sharps. That feels like it would be kind of dangerous. They also, despite the fact that they allow knitting, they don't allow bags, so I couldn't put this into a purse or into one of my project bags or anything to take it with me. So that was part of why I ended up taking this one. Because I haven't gone on from the very first skein, it is still small enough that I was able to fit it into like my hoodie pocket. And I mean, that felt suspicious as hell. But what do they expect me to do when they say I can bring knitting, but they say I can't bring a bag? Of course, I was paranoid for nothing because these didn't even set off the metal detectors. Absolutely no one gave a single crap that I brought this in. Was admittedly a little bit smaller, and I did get some interesting looks while I was sitting in the stands. But yeah, if you feel comfortable going to a baseball game, Comerica Stadium is a good one to go to if you're a knitter, because they let you bring your knitting with you. But about the project itself, I am really, really loving it. I love the way that this yarn is knitting up into this project. The fact that I'm using the 11s rather than my 10s means that the drape on this is so much more. The jump from a US 10 to a US 11 is crazy. It's 2 millimeters. Most of the jumps that I'm used to are like half or a quarter of a millimeter at a time, so from a US 10 to a US 11 is kind of crazy. But the fabric is looking absolutely gorgeous. The texture on it is surprisingly different from the wool sweater that I made that is just up on my shelf over here, waiting until fall so that I can wear it. But yeah, this is my tortoise project. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Now, this next project barely counts as a whip, considering that I have wound up the yarn but have not actually cast it on. That's not true. I have cast it on and I had to rip it out because I didn't do it right. The other day, I was just minding my own business and suddenly a wonderful and gorgeous sock pattern came to me. So I decided right then and there that I was going to wind up the yarn and I was going to cast it on, and I know that I still haven't even written up my falling snow socks, but bear with me guys, this is how the creative process works. But in order to make this vision of mine happen, I need to learn brioche. I don't know how I have gone this long without learning brioche. It's not like I am worried that it's too difficult or anything, because I'm quite certain that I can handle it. But I am going to be mixing these two colors, which is this gorgeous burgundy color and this orange. This kind of burnt orange. The lighting is really weird. I really need to get a ring light. I just have not gotten around to it. Also, ring lights cost money. But yeah, I cast it on. I did, I think, about 2 rows and something had just gone wrong. I think at least in part it's because I'm trying to knit brioche on double pointed needles, which I'm not entirely certain it's made for. But I'm either going to make it work, or I am not only going to teach myself brioche, but I am also going to teach myself how to knit socks with magic loop, or there's a way to knit socks that use like 2 really short needles that I'm not super familiar with, but I know exists because my knitting club members, I think at least 1 or 2 of them knit socks like that. I am a die-hard double point needle person when it comes to socks. I will knit a sleeve in magic loop any day over double pointed needles, but when it comes to socks, I love my DPNs. But I am already obsessed with these socks because I get such witchy vibes from this combo of colors. But because I get those witchy vibes, I did decide to go with a Halloween style needle minder. I do have some new needles that I am trying out. These are from Knit Picks. They are, I think, the Sunburst, but I can't remember. I will put the actual name of these needles in somewhere here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are Sunburst because I also bought these, which are Sunstruck. So these needles are different for me, mostly just in the fact that they are 6 inches rather than my usual 5-inch needles. I didn't realize that when I purchased them, but hopefully it doesn't make a difference, or maybe I will end up liking the 6 inches better, and then I'm going to have to buy all new sock needles because all of mine are 5-inch because that is usually my preference. So I've got these and these. I'm trying out these so far, partially because they match my project, which is just the best. But I wanted to try out the Knit Picks needles because they are cheaper than the needles that I usually buy, and they feel like they're very similar quality. They feel a bit more laminated, like a little bit more plasticky, even though they are wood needles. But I don't think that that's a bad thing. It might mean that there's a little bit more grip to them, honestly. But I ended up buying both the Sunstruck and the Sunburst because the Sunburst are about $1 more than these, and I just wanted to see what the difference was. I'm assuming the difference is mostly just in the color. I don't know. Maybe one will be my preference over the other. But back to my Witchy Vibes socks. I am very excited to actually get these going. The reason that I haven't cast them on again is mostly because I really need to take a minute where I can concentrate, and I have trouble doing that. I like to have things going on in the background. I like to be multitasking. So sitting down for 15 to 20 minutes so I can focus on a cast on is always hard for me. Plus I'm very easily distracted, which is probably how I ended up messing this up in the first place. But yeah, I did go with an all black ensemble today to complement my witchy theme, my kind of Halloween theme. I am usually not a Halloween person. I do not like Halloween at all. But this year, I seem to be leaning a little bit more into Halloween, and I think it's just because I want it to be fall so badly. Usually, I am obsessed with Christmas. As soon as the leaves start to fall, I'm like, okay, it's time to think Christmas. But I think maybe just because I'm so desperate for it to be fall, and I'm so tired of the heat, I'm like, you know what? Halloween's fine. Let's look forward to Halloween. And to be clear, I have never been into like the gory horror side of Halloween. When it comes to Halloween, I'm very into cute Halloween. This, for example, adorable. I think that the best term for it is spoopy. I am a spoopy Halloween kind of person. I like my soft-edged bats and my witches' hats and cats in witches' hats and all the things that can be cute elements of Halloween. My yard will never be decorated with gravestones and skeletons and zombie parts or anything like that, but it might be decorated in those little ghosts that you can make that are super basic, that are like, you just take like a white square of fabric and then you stuff the end of it with cotton or something and then tie it off and then put like googly eyes on it or something. Those are adorable. That's a possibility. But for right now, this is as close to fall as I seem to be getting, so hopefully I will have some actual brioche to show you guys next time. Moving on to cross stitch, I don't have too much to show you guys here. I did finish the snowflakes on my Fa La La cross stitch. I don't really know where I'm going to go next. That is one of the things that I've noticed is kind of the biggest difference, at least to me, with cross stitch and knitting is very step by step. There's a tiny bit of wiggle room in some patterns, like the way that I am casting on my sleeves before I finish the body of my cardigan. But for the most part, you have a very specific order that you have to do everything in. And there seems to be like general guidelines when it comes to cross stitch. Technically, for example, I was supposed to start in the middle, I think, based on some of the instructions that I've read or videos that I've watched. Start in the middle and you work your way out, which obviously I disregarded, which is such a weird thing to my knitter brain. Like, you can just disregard those rules? It kind of makes it difficult for me to know where to go next. So I have a big old Christmas tree to do. I have 2 sheep to do, and then the bottom border as well. You can see here. I just don't know what I want to do next because my brain tells me that there's a right answer, that there is an obvious choice that this should be the thing that you do next. And that's just not the case. So I haven't picked this up in a little while, but I did finish those snowflakes, and I'm sure that I will pick this up again very soon. Besides that, I did purchase another knitting pattern. Nope. Besides that, I did purchase another cross stitch pattern, which is pictured here somewhere. This is going to be for my mother-in-law for Christmas. I haven't decided yet whether or not I like the fact that it is two colors. On the one hand, makes it feel like it's going to be just that little bit easier, but on the other hand means it's a little bit boring. We will find out together exactly what my taste in cross stitch is, because you guys are on the ride for this journey with me. You guys are going to be finding out right along with me what I do and do not like for cross stitch, because I am learning this whole art from scratch. So you can look forward to that in the future. But yeah, that is everything for this episode. Like I said, it was a little bit of a short one, but I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.